Hello, I'm Corey Kuipers here with VTV, and today I'm here with Dr. Barbara Wall, Chief Organizer of the Conference on Examining Pope Francis's Pontificate, which happened here on April 12th and 15th. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on a well-run conference, successful. First question is just could you give a brief description of the purpose of the event?
Yes. Well, in March 13th, actually, was the fifth anniversary of Pope Francis's papacy. What we wanted to do was to bring a group of scholars here to discuss what Francis has done these past 5 years and what the reaction that or the reforms that he's trying to do within the church. And basically, much that's been written about Francis in the past has either been in newspapers or in magazines. And we wanted this opportunity to have a very in-depth examination of the theological foundation and the historical context that have really produced the influences on Francis and what he is about and why he's about what he is these days. So we brought in a number of international scholars. Some of them are Jesuits, members of his own community. And these are people such as Father John O'Malley, who is an expert church historian from Georgetown, who wrote a great deal about Vatican II. And one of the main points that he made and others have made is that what Francis has written to date, it really comes out of the tradition of Vatican II, where there is an attempt to retrieve what Vatican II is about. And if you know anything about Vatican II, those of us who lived through it, it was really a call to each of us to go back to our roots, which really is the gospel, to look at what is essential in living the gospel and imitating the life of Christ. So that sense of retrieval, as well as renewing that spirit in each of our lives, and the impact that the gospel has on the church today, particularly in the 21st century, the world in which so much is going on, so many struggles for freedom, self-determination. How can our faith and our tradition be a resource for us in becoming people who are, as God had asked us in our baptism, to be co-creators of God's justice and peace in the world? So how do we do that together as a community and work with others in coalition and formation of community for the common good, while trying at the same time to enliven and renew and retrieve our roots, the gospel roots, and how that imperative of the gospel should be very much present in our everyday lives. So that's kind of what we were trying to do, to provide some substantive theological and historical context for better understanding what Francis's papacy is all about.
Okay. Thank you. All right, and then my next question is going to be related to what is the importance of having an event like this here on campus?
Well, you know that we had the conference here, and Father Peter and senior administrators and the Board of Trustees went to Rome last week at the very same time to have a board meeting and to renew themselves in the Augustinian tradition. I was supposed to be there with them. However, I had planned this long before that board meeting came up. But what was interesting was when they met with Pope Francis last Saturday, Pope Francis emphasized the importance to them of the role of Catholic universities in bringing questions to bear on the events of our day with a sense of mercy, love, justice, and respect for the common good. So he encouraged the board and the president and senior administration to be about the very things that we were doing at this conference, actually. So I think what we would ask is one of the participants from Trinity University suggested, she's a sociologist, Dr. Mary Johnson, said, you know, what Villanova is doing is really a first, and other Catholic colleges and universities need to take this up from here. And I know that others are trying to work on a conference like this in Milwaukee So we need more opportunities to discuss what does it mean to retrieve Vatican II and to complete its work, and to be, as a church, the people of God, better prepared to be in the world as disciples. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we talked about this weekend too was the meaning of discipleship in the age of Francis.
All right, so it sounds like this conference was a really important thing and a great thing to have here on campus. So another question I have is, are we going to see more events like this on campus here at Villanova?
Well, I certainly hope so. We have a year-long series this year, and each year we have had something, a series of speakers we bring in from all over the country, and in this case, all over the world, to speak about issues particularly with regard to Catholic social teaching. And one thing that we read in the Gospel, and Mark, is to read the signs of the times. And what do we need to do to raise consciousness about these issues? And what does our faith and the teachings of our tradition have to bear on what's happening today? So, for example, this year we have had a series of lectures on Catholic social teaching and racism. And next year we will focus on Catholic social teaching and trafficking. This is a big issue throughout the world in human slavery. So we try to do that every year, and we also have conferences. So I think what we're trying to do is to enable this campus to inundate it with a sense of what we are about in light of our Catholic Augustinian tradition, and to invite people to be part of that. It's nothing forced, but to say this is what we believe and what we're trying to do by way of sharing our resources, our talents, and opportunities to be part of creating a better world in justice and peace. Okay?
Thank you. At this conference, I know we had a lot of speakers, not only from outside of Villanova, but we had a lot of Villanova professors speaking as well. So I was just wondering, in your opinion, out of the speeches that you got to see, who is the most exciting and just most interesting speaker here?
Well, that's a difficult question. In my own opinion, of all the people that I listened to, and we had 9 keynote speakers, and we had about almost 60 concurrent sessions. So, and we had people from all over the world, as far away as Newcastle, Australia, Cameroon, Africa, the UK, Nigeria, Honduras, San Francisco. So people from all over, about 150 people attended, most of whom were people very involved in the work of the conference. I couldn't attend all of the concurrent sessions because it would be 7 or so at one time with 3 people. But of the keynote speakers, I think the person, and of course I appreciated them all, but I think Father Spadaro's talk was rather extraordinary, and I would encourage people to watch it. I believe next week they will be on YouTube through our IT department. So I would encourage you to listen to Cardinal Tobin's talk, which was excellent, Cardinal Maradiaga from Honduras, who is one of the 9 cardinals that advised Pope Francis, and also Father John O'Malley, the historian from Georgetown, he is the scholar on that, Massimo Fagioli, and Margaret Archer from the UK. She is the president of the Pontifical Council for Natural and Social Sciences. She was excellent. And also our very own, as I said, Massimo is here, and also one of our speakers from Durham University, the UK. There was an emergency in her school that she had to remain, but one of our law professors, Michelle Pistone, filled in for her on the issue of Pope Francis, the Pope of Migration and Immigration. So all of them were different, but encapsulated like a kaleidoscopic piece of the whole of what Francis is about. But I thought I thought there was a great deal of substance in all of what I heard. So, thank you.
All right. Finally, I'd just like to thank Dr. Wall for sitting down with us today for this interview. And I'd also like to congratulate her on a successful run conference and hopefully to more in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you.